Welcome to our deep dive, where we're going to be exploring something I think we can all relate to: human connection.
It's a pretty fundamental part of being human.
It is.
Yeah.
And to help us with this, we're diving into the world of social intelligence, using social intelligence by Daniel Goleman. We're going to uncover how our brains are wired for these relationships. And trust me, you'll never look at a simple conversation the same way again.
I think that's probably true. I mean, social intelligence is kind of like this hidden superpower. We often overlook it, but it's crucial for navigating the world.
So it's more than just like being good with people.
Yeah, it's not just about being charming or the life of the party.
Okay, so then what is it? What are we talking about here?
It's a type of intelligence, like we have cognitive intelligence, right?
Mm.
That helps us solve problems, analyze information. Well, social intelligence is about understanding and navigating those complexities of human interaction.
Okay, so I get that it's important, but can you give me an example of why it's so important? Like, why do we need a specific type of intelligence just for interacting with other people?
Okay, imagine this. You're a military leader in a tense standoff.
Oh, wow.
The crowd is agitated, things could escalate quickly. Now, instead of issuing commands or taking an aggressive stance, you decide to kneel.
Kneel. That
Oh.
seems like the opposite of what you'd expect in that situation.
Exactly, and yet that unexpected act of vulnerability completely diffuses the tension.
Really? Wow.
It's a powerful example of how social intelligence can, change the course of events. It's about understanding those emotional undercurrents and responding in a way that creates connection, not conflict.
Okay, that is a powerful example. But how does our brain even process those social cues and then respond so effectively in the moment?
Well, one of the things at play here are mirror neurons.
Oh, I've heard of those.
Yeah, so these are specialized cells in our brains that fire both when we perform an action and when we observe someone else doing that same action. It's like our brains are mimicking the experience of others.
Wait, so just by watching someone smile, my brain is like simulating the act of smiling itself.
Yeah, exactly. It's like having this internal simulator for social interaction.
Wow.
And this mirroring is what allows us to understand others' actions and emotions.
So it's not just about seeing a smile and recognizing it as happiness.
Yeah.
It's about actually experiencing a little bit of that happiness yourself.
Exactly. And that shared experience, that resonance of emotions is what creates a sense of connection.
This reminds me of something called the emotional economy, this idea that emotions can spread from person to person, almost like a virus. Have you ever been in a room where one person's bad mood just seems to bring everyone down?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, we are incredibly susceptible to the emotional states of those around us. Our brains are constantly picking up on those subtle cues, facial expressions, tone of voice, body language. And all those cues influence our own emotional state.
So it's like we're all connected on this invisible emotional level.
Yeah, it is a bit like an invisible web. And this interplay of emotions can have a huge impact on our experiences, relationships, even our decisions.
Okay, well, if we're so easily influenced by other people's emotions,
Mm-hmm.
how do we maintain our own sense of balance? Like, how do we not get completely swept away?
Well, that's where the low road and high road in our brains come into play.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
The low road is our brain's rapid response system.
So it's like a reflex.
Yeah, like our knee-jerk reactions, fight or flight instincts.
Okay.
It operates on instinct, speed, and often, pure emotion.
So that's what makes me jump when I hear a loud noise or slam on the brakes when I see a car swerving in front of me.
Exactly. A survival mechanism to keep us safe.
Okay, and the high road, I'm guessing this is where the more rational, thoughtful responses come in.
Exactly. The high road is slower, more deliberate, allows us to pause, to process information, and choose a more measured response.
So if the low road makes me jump back when I see a snake, the high road is what helps me realize, oh, it's just a harmless garter snake. I don't need to panic.
Exactly. Recognizing those initial reactions and then engaging your higher level thinking.
So it sounds like this constant battle between our instincts and our rational minds.
Often, yeah. And the key to good social intelligence is understanding this interplay and learning how to leverage both the low and the high road effectively.
So how do we do that? How do we become more aware of those knee-jerk reactions and train ourselves to pause and engage that high road thinking?
That's where social awareness comes in.
Okay.
Tuning into those subtle signals, people send those nonverbal cues that often speak louder than words.
So we're talking about body language, tone of voice, facial expressions, all those little hints that reveal what someone might be thinking or feeling, even if they're not saying it directly.
Exactly.
It's like learning to read the subtext of a conversation.
Exactly. And that's where things get really interesting.
Yeah, I'm definitely ready to dive deeper into this world of nonverbal communication. It feels like we're just scratching the surface of how much our brains are processing during even the most basic interactions.
Oh, yeah, we are just getting started. Welcome back.
I'm ready to learn more about how to become more fluent in this language of nonverbal cues.
Well, think about this.
Okay.
You're watching a movie, but you're so focused on counting how many times a certain word is spoken
Uh,
that you completely miss a gorilla walking across the screen.
oh, yeah, the gorilla experiment.
That's it.
It's crazy how our attention can make us blind to things.
Exactly. And in social intelligence, those missed details are often those subtle cues.
The ones that reveal what someone is really thinking or feeling.
Yep.
So you're talking about those micro expressions,
Yes.
the fleeting facial movements.
Right.
They happen so fast,
They do a fraction of a second.
but they can betray someone's true emotions.
Yeah.
I remember reading about this real-life Casanova,
Oh, yeah.
this master manipulator
Mm.
who married over 100 women before he was finally caught.
Oh, man.
But even with all his charm and charisma, he couldn't control those tiny facial movements.
You're talking about Giacomo Vigilotto.
Yes.
His story is a great example of the power of microexpressions.
It's amazing that even when someone's trying to hide their true feelings,
Hmm.
those micro expressions can leak out.
They do.
So how can we learn to spot them? Do I need, like, special training?
Well, not necessarily.
Right.
There are experts who have developed techniques
Right.
for reading those microexpressions.
Interesting.
And with practice, anyone can learn to become more attuned to them.
It's almost like becoming a human lie detector.
Yeah, kind of.
So it's about more than just spotting deception.
Right.
It's about understanding what's really going on with someone.
Even when they're trying to hide it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. I can see how that could be useful in all kinds of situations.
Oh, absolutely.
Whether it's like a business deal
Mm-hmm.
or a tough conversation with a friend.
Yeah, yeah.
But, going back to this idea of attunement,
Mm-hmm.
it seems like it's more than just reading facial expressions.
It is.
It's about creating a deeper connection,
Attunement is about being fully present with the other person,
really listening.
listening with your whole being.
Not just your ears,
Yeah.
but everything.
Yeah, your eyes, your heart, even your gut.
It's about making the other person feel seen
Exactly.
and understood.
Yeah.
I've definitely had conversations where I felt like the other person wasn't really listening,
Right.
and it just creates this distance.
It does.
But when someone's truly attuned,
Mm-hmm.
it feels like you're on the same wavelength.
You are, and there's actually evidence for that.
Really?
Studies have shown that during therapy sessions,
When a therapist and client are really connecting,
Mm-hmm.
their heart rates actually synchronize.
Wow, that's incredible.
It is.
Our bodies are literally resonating
They are.
with each other's emotions.
Exactly.
And that synchrony isn't limited to our heart rates.
No, it's not.
When we're in sync with someone,
Yeah.
we unconsciously mirror their posture,
Right.
their gestures,
Mm-hmm.
even their breathing.
It's like a dance.
Yeah, an invisible dance of connection.
Exactly.
So if we want to build strong relationships,
Yeah.
being in sync is key.
It is.
It creates trust
Absolutely.
and rapport.
Which makes communication so much easier.
Yeah, this reminds me of something you mentioned earlier,
Huh.
the proto-conversation.
Oh, yeah.
Can you remind me what that is?
Sure.
It sounds familiar, but...
It's essentially the foundation for all human interaction.
Okay.
It's that back and forth of emotions and gestures that we first learn as babies.
With our caregivers.
Exactly.
I've seen that with my niece. Oh, yeah.
She would smile, and her mom would smile back.
Ah.
And then she would coo,
Uh-huh.
and her mom would coo back.
Like a conversation.
Yeah, even though she couldn't talk yet.
It's a perfect example of the proto-conversation.
So those early interactions,
Yeah.
they're teaching us how to read cues and respond.
And establish a sense of connection.
And that blueprint shapes how we connect throughout our lives.
Yeah, it does.
It's amazing that those simple interactions
Mm-hmm.
are so important.
They are.
So even just like a brief moment,
Yeah.
like exchanging a smile with a stranger,
Uh-huh.
that's a chance to practice
It is.
our social intelligence.
Every interaction, no matter how small,
Right.
is an opportunity to hone those skills.
This is also fascinating.
It is.
But what happens when these connections falter?
That's a great question.
What are some pitfalls we need to be aware of?
It leads us to the darker side of social intelligence.
Okay.
While most people use their social skills for good, there are some who exploit them
Oh,
for personal gain.
or manipulation.
Yeah.
You're talking about the dark triad.
Exactly.
Narcissism,
Uh-huh.
Machiavellianism.
And psychopathy.
Yeah. Okay, let's break those down a bit,
Sure.
starting with narcissism.
Okay.
What are the hallmarks of that trait?
Well, narcissists are driven by a sense of self-importance
Okay.
and a deep need for admiration.
They want attention and praise,
Yes.
and they often use others to achieve their goal.
That's right.
So they lack empathy
They do.
and struggle to really connect.
Yeah, their relationships tend to be pretty superficial.
Okay.
It's all about what they can get.
Not about genuine connection.
Not really.
Okay. What about Machiavellianism?
Okay.
I'm guessing it's named after Machiavelli,
Yes, it is.
the author who was all about power
Gaining and maintaining power.
by any means necessary.
Exactly.
So these individuals are cunning and manipulative.
Yes, very strategic.
They're playing social chess,
That's a great analogy.
always thinking several moves ahead, and they use charm and deception to get their way.
Yeah, they're master manipulators.
Okay, this is getting a little scary.
It is a bit dark.
And then we have psychopathy,
Right.
which is probably the most chilling of the three.
Yeah, potentially.
These individuals lack empathy, remorse.
Guilt.
They're impulsive and irresponsible,
Right.
and they just don't consider the consequences.
For themselves or others.
So we're talking about people capable of real cruelty.
Yeah.
And what's disturbing is they can be so charming,
Very persuasive.
which makes social awareness even more important.
It does.
It's not just about understanding positive connections.
Right.
It's about recognizing when someone might be using their skills to manipulate.
Exactly.
So we need to learn to read between the lines. Trust our gut instincts.
It's about protecting yourself.
Yeah, the dark triad is a reminder that not everyone has good intentions,
That's true.
even if they seem charming on the surface.
Right.
Okay, so we've explored this darker side. Is there a flip side to this?
Oh, absolutely.
Are there qualities that represent, like, the best of social intelligence?
Yes, there are people who use their social intelligence to create positive change,
Okay.
build bridges of understanding, inspire kindness in others.
So people who dedicate themselves to helping others,
That's right.
like those working in humanitarian aid or volunteering in their communities,
Yes.
they have a high degree of empathy,
They do.
compassion,
And altruism.
altruism.
That willingness to help others, even at a cost to themselves.
Yeah, it reminds me of the story of the Good Samaritan,
A classic
the
example.
man who stops to help a stranger,
Right.
even though it puts him at risk.
Yeah.
It's about the power of altruism.
Exactly. And while it seems selfless, there's actually a fascinating brain mechanism involved.
Really?
When we witness acts of kindness, or we do something altruistic ourselves, we experience something called elevation.
Elevation.
Yeah.
That sounds positive.
It is. It's that warm, fuzzy feeling when
Right.
you see someone help another person.
Yeah.
It's inspiring and hopeful.
So kindness is contagious.
in a way, yes.
I love that.
Elevation is powerful. It can ripple outward and inspire others,
Wow.
like a chain reaction of compassion.
We're all connected, not just through emotion, but also through our capacity for kindness.
Exactly. It's part of our shared humanity.
This has been such an eye-opening exploration.
We've covered a lot.
From mirror neurons to microexpressions to the dark triad to
It's a
altruism.
wide range.
But there's still so much more to explore.
There is.
In our final segment,
Mhm.
we'll delve into the nature versus nurture debate.
That age-old question.
How much is hardwired?
And how much is shaped by experience.
I can't wait.
See you in part 3.
Welcome back to our deep dive into social intelligence. We've explored so much, from those mirror neurons to the subtle language of microexpressions, and even the darker side with the dark triad. But now, I'm really curious about this question. How much of our social intelligence is, like, hardwired, and how much is shaped by our experiences?
Yeah, it's that classic nature versus nurture debate.
Exactly.
And when it comes to social intelligence, it's not a simple answer. Both nature and nurture play a role.
Okay, so can you give me an example to help illustrate this?
Sure, think about identical twins. They share the same genes. So if social intelligence were purely genetic, they should be identical in their social skills, right?
Right.
But studies have shown that while identical twins raised together often have similar levels of social intelligence, those raised apart can show significant differences.
Oh, interesting. So genes are just part of the story.
Exactly. Genes provide a foundation, a blueprint, but our experiences really shape how that blueprint is expressed.
So it's like genes give you the ingredients, but your experiences determine how you use those ingredients to create the final dish.
I like that analogy. It really highlights that interplay. And there's an even more fascinating layer to this: social epigenetics.
Okay, you mentioned that term earlier. Can you remind me what that's all about?
Sure. It's the idea that our experiences, particularly early in life, can actually alter how our genes express themselves. What happens to us can change how our genes function.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. So what I experienced as a child can actually change how my genes work.
It is remarkable, and there's research to back this up. For example, studies on rats have shown that the quality of maternal care can affect their offspring's stress response later in life. Pups that received more nurturing care from their mothers were better able to handle stress as adults.
So even though they had the same genes, their early experiences actually changed how those genes were expressed.
Precisely. It really highlights the power of our early environment in shaping not just our social and emotional development, but development in general.
That makes me think about how important it is to create those supportive, nurturing environments for children. It's not just about love and affection, it's about shaping their brains and how their genes function.
Absolutely. The more we understand about this interplay of genes and environment, the more effectively we can support healthy development.
It goes back to that idea of neural scaffolding we talked about. Those early experiences lay the foundation.
Exactly. A strong social and emotional foundation is crucial.
But what about people who maybe didn't have that supportive early environment? Is there hope for them to develop strong social intelligence later on?
Absolutely. While those early years are critical, our brains are amazingly adaptable throughout our lives. We call it neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to rewire itself based on new experiences.
So it's not like our brains stop developing in adulthood. We can still learn and grow.
Exactly. Think of it like learning a new language. It's easier when you're young, but you can become fluent later in life with dedication and effort. The same goes for social intelligence.
So what are some things people can do to improve their social intelligence no matter their age?
Well, mindfulness is a powerful tool.
Okay. How does that help?
By practicing mindfulness, we become more aware of our own thoughts, emotions, and sensations, as well as those of others. It helps us step out of those automatic reactions and choose a more skillful response.
So instead of just reacting, we learn to pause, observe, and then choose how we want to respond.
Yes, mindfulness helps us become more attuned and empathetic. And the best part is, it's a skill anyone can develop. There are so many resources out there, guided meditations, mindfulness-based stress reduction programs. It's about finding what works for you.
So we really do have the power to shape our social brains,
Mhm.
to become more skillful in how we connect with others.
We do. Understanding how our social brains work allows us to create better relationships, navigate challenges with more understanding, and ultimately build a more connected and compassionate world.
This deep dive has been amazing. I feel like I have a whole new understanding of how my brain works in social situations
Yeah,
and some new tools to work with.
I'm glad to hear that.
What's one key takeaway you want listeners to remember?
Remember that every interaction, no matter how small, is an opportunity to practice your social intelligence. Pay attention to those subtle cues, cultivate that sense of attunement, and remember that we're all wired to connect.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing your insights with us today. And
Ah,
to our listeners, thank you for joining us on this journey into the world of social intelligence. Until next time.